Hello everyone, how are you doing? I hope you're having an amazing day today. My name is Ben and I'm here with Millenium Drums to take a deep dive into the advanced settings and the setup menu of the MPS-1000. Let's get started. Let's jump straight into the setup menu by pressing the setup button under the display. The first three options are related to the 70 backing tracks that is included with the MPS-1000. The first option in that menu is the back volume, which allows you to control the volume of the backing track. CH mute is the second option on the menu. By selecting CH mute, it will allow you to either remove the drums or the accompanying instrument on a track. If you were to select drums, this would remove the pre-recorded drums and allow you to jam along at home. Play mode dictates the playback of the track, whether it will repeat, skip to the next track, or stop at the end of the track. Next, we have the metronome setting. Here, you can change the volume, the tempo, the sound of the metronome. You can also change the time signature in which the metronome is set. Finally, you can change the output to the master output, a headphone output, or both. Within the setup menu, we have a further sub-menu called Advanced. In the Advanced menu, it will allow you to control the feel and playability to make sure that the MPS-1000 feels really good for you. First, we have the sensitivity setting. The sensitivity setting allows you to change how sensitive a trigger may be. In this instance, I'm going to choose a snare drum. First, I select the snare drum by playing it, and the reason for this is if I was to play some ghost notes, I want to make sure that the tiny details in my groove could be heard. The higher the sensitivity, the more the drum will trigger when being played lightly and vice versa. Alright, so that was sensitivity, and we're now going to take a look at headroom. Headroom is one of the most important settings because this controls the dynamic range of the trigger. If the dynamic range is set to 0, then regardless of how hard you hit the trigger, it will still play really loudly. If you set the headroom all the way to 127, you'll find that it takes a lot of effort to reach the highest velocity. A happy medium is usually best around 100. We find that the dynamic range is optimal. Alright, so that was headroom. We're now going to take a look at sense time. Sense time is really important, especially if you want to play two notes together, like a flam or a ruff. If you turn the sense time all the way up, you'll find that it's really difficult to play these two notes close to one another. The next setting here is peak decay. Peak decay is the time period between a note being played and the next note being accepted. The higher the value is, the lower the likelihood that notes are skipped. However, it does make double triggering easier. The trigger setting allows us to change the trigger curve. You can use the linear setting for the most natural ratio between punch and volume. Use EXP if you want a hard strike to cause a bigger volume change or dynamic. You can also use log if you'd like a soft strike to cause a bigger change. With the setting spline, regardless of the velocity triggered, the sound will be the same volume. The following setting we have is note send. Note send dictates the MIDI note value of your selected trigger. If that note value does not match with the note on your external software, you can change it here. The crosstalk setting allows you to eliminate any crosstalk between pads. For example, if you were playing your snare drum, but the crash cymbal kept triggering and making a sound. Enter the crosstalk menu, hit the selected pad until no other pads can be heard or until OK is shown in the bottom left corner of the display. Okay, so on the MPS-1000, we have space for one more external trigger, but first we have to calibrate it. In this instance, I have an additional floor tom here on my right-hand side. The first thing first, we hit the drum to make sure that we're in the right menu. We then scroll down to the trigger type to make sure that it's calibrated correctly. In this menu, I have the following choices: cowbell, cymbal, normal, or in this case, mesh. Next, we have 3 parameters for calibrating the rim on the mesh pads. To enter this menu, hit the rim of the mesh pad you wish to edit. First, we have rim velocity, which is a volume control. A positive value increases the volume, whereas a negative value decreases the volume. Next is the rim modifier. This setting will allow you to calibrate at which velocity the rim will trigger. If playing the head whilst the rim is triggering, increase the value. If whilst playing the rim, the head is triggering, decrease the value. Finally, we have the split point, which sets the rim trigger response value of the snare. If you play the rim trigger quietly, you will hear a cross stick. If you play it louder, you'll hear the rim shot. The final submenu that we're going to look at in the advanced settings is all about the hi-hat. To enter the hi-hat's advanced menu, press the hi-hat down once. The first setting we come to is the hi-hat calibration. This sets the touch range of the hi-hat. First, lower the hi-hat down and press the minus button to set the minimum value. Then slowly allow the hi-hat to release and press the plus button for the maximum value. The value range is stored in the module and allows for a lot more precise playing. We recommend not to set any extreme values. The next setting is chick time. This setting allows you to control from when the hi-hat was last played before it is triggered again. Therefore, you can control and avoid any unintentional playing. Next, we have splash time. This setting sets the level of difficulty for the pedal to splash. The lower the value, the easier to hit. Next is pedal velocity. This is the correction value for the volume of the hi-hat pedal. Increase the volume to make the pedal louder, i.e. a pedal chick or splash. The final 2 settings in the hi-hat advanced menu is hi-hat open and hi-hat closed. The range between hi-hat open and closed is called half open. For increasing the range half open, increase the open point and decrease the close point. Alright then, so we're going to come out of our advanced menu now and we're going to head to the compressor. The first thing we see within the compressor is the target, and that is the individual signal that we want to use this compressor on. That can either be the entire kit or an individual part of the drum kit. Next, we have switch. This allows you to turn the compressor on or off and then gives you the following parameters which you would usually find on a compressor: ratio, threshold, attack time, release time, and finally boost. Next up, we have the equalizer. We have a 4-band EQ for the master and headphone output, which consists of a low, low mid, high mid, and treble setting. We can then use the EQ on any of the individual parts of the drum kit. This is a 3-band EQ, which consists of low, mid, and treble. The next menu is direct out. In this menu, you can change the individual volume of separate outputs, but you can also assign each trigger pad to a different output. Next, we have the user sample menu. Here, you can input your own samples as well as manage your own sample library. Next, we have the auto power off. Here, I can select the time that the module will go into standby before turning itself off. I also have night mode, which allows me to turn on the lights like so, should I find myself in a gigging situation. This also looks really cool. And finally, I have the language selection. Alright then guys, that concludes our deep dive video onto the setup menu of the Millenium MPS-1000. I hope you found this video really helpful. However, if you have any questions that are left unanswered, then drop us a comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and hopefully we'll see you soon for some more exciting drum content. I've been Ben for Millenium. Take care.